This has been very peaceful, Brian. It has been tense at some points, but we haven't seen any violence happening here. What people are saying is that they don't think ICE belongs in Los Angeles, that they want ICE out of the city.
This is my video update on this Sunday afternoon, June the 8th, coming to you from Athens, Greece. Let's talk about some news. And we are going to start things off with the LA riots, which were triggered by ICE arrests. And these are riots, at least from the videos and images that I've seen on the interwebs. These are not protests. These look like very violent riots and looting and all kinds of bad things appear to be happening in Los Angeles and the Trump administration. They are sending the National Guard, or I believe the National Guard has already arrived in Los Angeles to try and bring some order to the city. 2,000 National Guard is what Trump sent to LA. Gavin Newsom is not happy about this. Instead of cooperating with the Trump administration, the governor of California, he decided to position himself as the anti-Trump, to go against the Trump administration. He has posted on X for the rioters to protest peacefully. He said that he does not support the violence, but he does support the protesters. That's what Newsom said in an X post. Now, Trump is calling out Newsom. Newsom obviously sees this as a political opportunity to position himself as the anti-Trump, to position himself as the front runner for the 2028 elections. So he's looking at the riots from a political point of view. I don't think it will work. My sense of things is that a majority of Americans do not like what they see in California and in Los Angeles. But you got to imagine that there is a part of the U.S. population, and definitely the Democrat Party, that will line up behind Newsom on this one. But my sense is that a majority, perhaps a very large majority of the United States is going to support Trump on this issue. But we'll see how it unfolds. Trump realizes what Newsom is up to, and he posted on Truth Social. He said, if Governor Gavin Newsom, that's Gavin Newsom's nickname, Newsom, of California, and Mayor Karen Bass of Los Angeles can't do their jobs, which everyone knows they can't, then the federal government will step in and solve the problem. Riots and looters, the way it should be solved. And after that post on Truth Social, Trump then went on to post, great job by the National Guard in Los Angeles after 2 days of violence, clashes, and unrest. We have an incompetent governor, Newsom, in parentheses, and Mayor Bass, also in parentheses, who were, as usual, unable to handle the task. These radical left protests by instigators and often paid troublemakers will not be tolerated. Also, from now on, masks will not be allowed to be worn at protests. What do these people have to hide and why? Again, thank you to the National Guard for a job well done. My guess would be that there was a good part of the rioters that were paid. That would just be my guess. I have experience in seeing how riots unfold in Athens, Greece. Living in Athens, Greece, you get a lot of experience in how riots are staged, and definitely there is a large part of rioters who are not doing this for free. who are getting paid. That's been my experience of things living in Athens for many, many years. So the way these riots unfolded, the fact that we didn't have peaceful protests, it just kind of went from the ICE arrests into a full-blown riot and chaos. My guess would be that we're looking at some paid violence, and maybe with the goal of putting together another type of summer of love movement. Something like that might be taking place, hoping that the riots will spread across the United States. That's just my guess as to what may be going on. I could be completely wrong about this. But we'll see how it all unfolds in the next couple of days. And we'll see if order is restored back in LA, or if the riots do indeed spread, and if they do end up causing a headache and causing trouble for the Trump administration. All the more reason for the Trump administration to get out of Project Ukraine. Get out of Project Ukraine. Solve whatever you need to solve with China. Get a deal with Iran. Spend the rest of your administration, the rest of your foreign policy administration, trying to solve the Middle East, Israel, Palestine, two-state solution, Gaza. Spend the rest of your foreign policy on that issue, which is going to be a very difficult and complicated issue to solve, and focus the next 3 years of your 3.5 years of your term on the United States of America, because there are a lot of problems and a lot of issues that need to be solved in the USA. So let's talk about Project Ukraine. And I think the big story that we need to talk about when it comes to Project Ukraine is the Istanbul talks and the agreement made by Russia and Ukraine. They agreed on this for the exchange of bodies of fallen soldiers. To be more precise, Russia told Ukraine that they will unilaterally hand over 6,000 plus fallen soldiers, Ukrainian soldiers, to Ukraine. And the Ukraine negotiators, they agreed. They agreed to accept the fallen soldiers. Why would they not accept their own soldiers, so that they could get a proper burial, so that the families of these fallen soldiers can somehow get some closure, knowing that they've given their sons, their husbands, a proper burial, and they've returned home. Why would they not? Why would they not accept these fallen soldiers if you're the government of Ukraine? But they're not accepting these 6,000 soldiers, at least not yet. The Russian government, the Russian military, they've identified the soldiers. They've got the documents, the names, everything of the soldiers. They're on the front line, and they're waiting for Ukraine to accept the bodies. I believe we're talking about the first 1,000 bodies are ready to be turned over to the Zelensky regime, and then the bodies are ready to be returned to the families. But on the Ukraine side, according to the Russians, on the Ukraine side, no one is coming to meet them on the front line, on the contact line. And the question is, what is going on? Why will Ukraine not accept the 6,000 bodies of their very own soldiers? Maria Zakharova, she is accusing Ukraine of self-genocide on this issue. There is no nation or ethnic group in the world that would refuse to bury its soldiers. But there is the Kiev regime, which professes a misanthropic ideology and is committing genocide against its own people. Medinsky, the chief negotiator, he came out with a statement and said that Ukraine fails to accept the remains of fallen troops. Moscow said earlier that it would return 6,000 bodies to Kiev as a humanitarian gesture. Here is what Medinsky said. The first batch of frozen remains of 1,212 Ukrainian soldiers has already arrived in refrigerated trucks at the exchange area on the border between the two countries, he said. The rest are on their way. Kiev has also been handed, Russia's given Kiev a list of 640 heavily wounded and younger prisoners held by Moscow so that they may be exchanged as well, according to Medinsky. Medinsky said that the Ukrainian team did not even arrive at the exchange site. The reasons Kiev provided to justify its decision are various and rather strange, he said without elaborating. We call on Kiev to strictly adhere to the schedule and all agreements that had been reached and to immediately begin the exchange so that the wounded could return home and the dead receive a proper burial, Medinsky urged. Moscow's team is on the site and fully ready to work, he reiterated, adding that Russia always keeps its word. And we are getting videos of the Russian team with the trucks on the front line, on the contact line. And they're waiting for Ukraine. And they've been there all day, waiting for Ukraine, for the Ukrainian officials. And this is a unilateral action. Russia is not compelling Ukraine to do the same, though. They would like Ukraine to do the same, to return the bodies of Russian soldiers, however many they have collected and properly ID'd. But for the Russian side, during the Istanbul talks, they said they're going to do this as a unilateral humanitarian gesture. So that's what Zakharova said. That's what Medinsky said. The chief negotiator, Medvedev, he posted on X, the Kiev bastards don't want to take the bodies of their dead soldiers. There are two reasons. It's scary to admit that there are 6,000 of them, and they don't want to pay the widows. And then Medvedev calls them scum and other things in Medvedev fashion, hardline Medvedev style. That was his post on X, and he's right on the cost issue. He's also right on the fact that the Zelensky regime is probably afraid to break the narrative of low losses that Zelensky has been putting out there by admitting that the Ukraine military has taken 6,000 bodies. That would definitely go against Zelensky's own statements on total casualties. But there's a third reason as to why Ukraine is not collecting the bodies, and that is that if Ukraine were to go ahead and meet Russia on the contact line, then that would mean that Ukraine is going along with the Istanbul negotiation process, and that's the last thing that they want to see happen. Ukraine wants to sabotage the Istanbul talks, the Istanbul agreements. They don't want to take any actions that make it appear as if they are going along with the Istanbul talks, and that's what would happen if they were to meet Russia on the contact line and accept the 6,000 bodies. So those are the three reasons why Ukraine is failing to show up. Maybe they'll show up later in the day, because this is turning out to be a PR and media disaster for the Zelensky regime. I mean, they have a good lockdown on the media space inside of Ukraine, but the truth is going to get out there, and the collective West is doing their best. Collective West media is doing their best to make sure that no one covers this story, and that this doesn't get out in collective West media, because it'll do a lot of damage to Churchill #2. But it's getting out there. This is turning into a big media disaster for the Zelensky regime and for collective West narratives. So yeah, the cost is an issue. I don't know what the what the compensation price is for a fallen soldier in Ukraine. I've heard 15 million hryvnias. I've heard less. I've heard more. I'm not quite sure, but my understanding of things is that the 6,000 number, when you add it all up, would be a significant cost to a bankrupt, broke Ukraine. Keep in mind that Ukraine, just a couple of weeks ago, they defaulted on a loan, I believe an IMF loan. So I mean, they're broke, man. They're absolutely broke and bankrupt. Even if the total cost was in compensation to families, to widows, even if the total cost was $1 billion, it's still $1 billion that Ukraine just cannot afford. So that's the one reason. The media narrative, that's the other reason, absolutely. From what I understand, the 6,000 bodies are mostly from Kursk. And if that's the case, and you're talking about 6,000 fallen soldiers in Kursk, let's just assume that that is the case, and you're talking about 6,000 soldiers in Kursk, then that would mean that Russia was accurate in detailing the losses that Ukraine incurred in Kursk, because you got to imagine if Russia has collected 6,000 bodies and properly ID'd them, the actual losses would be, I don't know, 10 times that, 60,000, and Russia put the total losses in Kursk to 72,000 that Ukraine suffered, 72 or 75,000. So, Zelensky was saying that Kursk was this huge success, and this would absolutely demolish that narrative, and it would demolish his narrative, Zelensky's narrative, where he claims that the total losses in the conflict from 2022 up until today, or at least up until February of 2025, when he was on Piers Morgan, he said the total losses were 45,000. That is what Zelensky is on record as telling Piers Morgan in February of 2025. So obviously, if you have 6,000 bodies that Russia has properly ID'd and turns over to Ukraine just from one region, then it would make no sense that the total losses would be the 45,000 number that Zelensky claims. And then the third reason is what I said, which is about the Istanbul talks and going along with the Istanbul process. Anyway, this is a big story, and this is going to cause a big problem for the Zelensky regime and for the collective West. So Reuters is reporting that the U.S. believes that the Russian retaliation to the airfield drone strikes. What am I doing in the hot sun? Let's get back in the shade. Even though there's some sort of a listening device. I don't know what's going on there. But let's find some shade. Let's find some shade and continue this video. So, what was I saying? Reuters. Reuters is saying that the retaliation has not ended, and it's going to be a multifaceted, is what they said, a multifaceted operation, multi-pronged operation. And what we saw over the past couple of days is just the first phase, and Russia is going to continue its retaliation, and that's what Reuters is reporting. That is what they're saying. U.S. believes Russia response to Ukraine drone attack not over yet, expects multi-pronged strike. And there's nothing really that the U.S. can do. They have to accept the fact that going after the airfields, going after the bombers, breaking the START treaty. Breaking the START treaty was a big no-no. They have to accept that they really messed up, and now Russia's going to retaliate. And I think that the U.S. is just going to keep quiet on this one. The Trump administration is going to keep very much out of it on this one. So the ambassador, the Russian ambassador to the UK, he was giving an interview to Sky News, and he said, for the first time that I've heard a Russian official, maybe outside of Medvedev, this is the first time that I've heard a Russian official talk about Russia taking everything up to the Dnieper. That's what he said. He said if this SMO was upgraded and it turned into something more than a special military operation, he said what Russia would do and what they might do. But what Russia would do is they would just take over 1/3 of Ukraine. They would get all the way to the Dnieper, and it would essentially mean the end of Ukraine. Once they get to the Dnieper, geographically, the fact that Russia would be on the river, the most important economic artery for Ukraine, that would pretty much mean that Ukraine's viability as a functioning state would be over. And that's what he said in this interview with Sky News. We will simply cut off all the bridges. This is the first time that you hear a Russian official talking about cutting off all the bridges. A question that many people have about how Russia has conducted this war. How come they have not gone after the bridges? How come they have kept the bridges intact? Well, you have the Russian ambassador to the UK saying we will simply cut off all the bridges across the Dnieper, 1/3 of the country from the rest. Russia's ambassador to London explained what a real war would look like, not a limited operation. If this were a real war, the diplomat stressed, we would simply cut off 1/3 of the country, destroying all the bridges along the Dnieper. But we are not doing this. This is still a limited operation, and its goals are also limited, Ambassador Kelin said. So let's do a Musk update. Let's do an Elon Musk taking on Trump update. And Elon Musk has deleted many of the posts that he made against Trump. He definitely deleted the E-bomb post, the Epstein post. That one he deleted. And what that shows is that Elon definitely lost this one. He is definitely retreating from this argument with Trump. The fact that he deleted the Epstein post. That's all you need to know about who won this row. As I said in a couple of videos talking about this subject, that post, that E-bomb Epstein post, went too far. Like I said, criticize Trump all you want, criticize the BBB, criticize that as well, absolutely. Criticize Trump's leadership, criticize his presidency. Do all of that. But that post, that E-bomb post, too far. Musk realizes this, and the best thing that Musk can do now is, well, he did the right thing. He deleted that post. Okay. Now the thing that he should do is, if I was advising Musk, if I was on his PR team, which I'm not, but if I was, I would advise Musk, take a couple of weeks off. Just post about your businesses. I'm sure you have a lot to say about Tesla and SpaceX. Post about that and issue an apology. I think that's a good route. A well-structured, well-formatted apology, and just move on. That would be the best thing for Musk to do. Can move on and focus on his hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars. Not a bad life, I guess. But you see, even all the money in the world, still does not does not buy good decision making, and you still make mistakes. And it looks like Musk is not happy. He still does not have happiness. At least that's how it looks as an outsider. Maybe he's super happy. I don't know. But anyway, he deleted the Epstein post. That's the end of this argument, I think. Take a couple of weeks off, take a couple of months off, focus on your business, issue an apology, and just let it go, man. Let it go and you'll be okay. You'll be better than okay. And yeah, start a third party. Absolutely. Why not? Why not? Maybe start a second party, because you kind of have the uniparty right now. But either way, if politics is your thing, if you've gotten a taste for politics, as I was saying a couple of days ago, as you got a taste for politics, for the power of politics, for the White House, start a party. You've got the money, you've got the means. If you can't do it, who can? So what else is going on in the world? We had a horrific assassination attempt happen in Colombia. And a presidential candidate, he is in critical condition, shot in the head by a 15-year-old. We are talking about Miguel Uribe Turbay, was critically wounded in suspected assassination attempt at a campaign event in Bogota. I believe this candidate is on the right side, the right of the political side. And he was I saw the video, he was at a campaign stop, and gunfire just went off, and man, the guy got hurt bad. I mean, when you see the video, it's pretty gruesome, pretty shocking, the video that came out from this assassination attempt. He is in very critical condition. The reports are that he was shot in the head, but he is alive. Anyway, I don't know much about the political situation in Colombia, but a terrible act of violence, and I hope that he makes it. I hope that he survives. I don't want to scare the cat. He was resting. He was resting and relaxing. Anyway, let's move on. The Polish president-elect, Nawrocki, he gave an interview to Hungarian media, and Nawrocki, he said that Ukraine is not going to be getting into the European Union anytime soon, but he does support Ukraine. He's a Maloney type figure. Less Orban, more Maloney. That's how I look at Nawrocki. I believe he's on the Russian sanctions list, isn't he? Because he was the guy that was tearing down statues, Soviet era statues. He was tearing them down. So I think he got put on the Russian sanctions list. Anyway, he said, at the moment, I am opposed to Ukraine's accession into the European Union. Nawrocki said, I look at Ukraine as a country that, although it defends itself very boldly against Russia, must also respect the interests of other countries who, by the way, support Ukraine. Poland has an interest in exhuming the Volyn victims, for example. He said, during the campaign, I did not agree, nor will I, as president, agree to unfair competition against Poland's agricultural or logistics sector with Ukraine. So he's like Maloney, but unlike Maloney from the standpoint that it does look like he's more patriotic when it comes to his country. Maloney is less patriotic. But Nawrocki does not like Russia, not against Ukraine, but he's not so obsessed with Ukraine as Duda was. But he does seem more patriotic to Poland and to Poland's history. And it does look like he's someone that wants to put Poland first. So maybe he's in between. Orban and Maloney. He's like an in-between version of Orban and Maloney. I'll change up what I said. Anyway, we'll see what he does. Right now, he's president-elect, so we'll see how he performs when he becomes president, and the pressures that are put on him by the EU to worship at the feet of the Green Goblin. We'll see if he actually does bow down and kiss the ring of the Green Goblin. And let's move on to a clown world. Let's talk clown world. Kind of clown world. More news than clown world. But anyway, the Austrian politician, the leader of Austria's ruling Freedom Party, the FPO, Mr. Kikel, he is not in favor of Zelensky in Austria. I didn't know that Zelensky was going to Austria. Does Churchill #2 ever spend any time in Kiev, man? My God. So he's on his way to Austria, all right. And Kikel does not like it. He says that Zelensky in Austria goes totally against Austria's stated neutrality. He said it's not right to have, where is this going to take me? It's not right to have Zelensky in Austria talking about more war, more weapons, more money, more sanctions, more escalation at a time when, according to Kikel, peace negotiations are trying to take place. So that's Kikel in Austria. And the New York Times put out an article today with the title, "Secret Russian Intelligence Document Shows Deep Suspicion of China. Russia's spy hunters are increasingly worried about China's espionage, even as the two countries grow closer." In public, President Putin of Russia says his country's growing friendship with China is unshakable, a strategic military and economic collaboration that has entered a golden era. But in the corridors of Lubyanka, the headquarters of Russia's domestic security agency, known as the FSB, a secretive intelligence unit refers to the Chinese as the enemies. That's right. With enough pushing, with enough carrots, and with some sticks as well, the collective West will be able to move Russia away from China. That's right. That is what the New York Times is saying in this article. It even talks about how Russia fears a hospital. How Russia fears China taking over some of Russia's territory. It even gets into that level. It's actually quite a very long article from the New York Times talking about this leaked document. The Athens leaks, a cybercrime group, obtained the document but did not say how it did so. That makes definitive authentication impossible, but the Times shared the report with 6 Western intelligence agencies, all of which assessed it to be authentic. The document gives the most detailed behind-the-scenes view to date of Russian counterintelligence's thinking about China since Russia invaded Ukraine in February 2022. Moscow's new bond with Beijing has shifted the global balance of power. The rapidly expanding partnership is one of the most consequential and opaque relationships in modern geopolitics. All right, so some hacking group, cybercrime group obtained this document, and the New York Times said, we can't authenticate this. And so they took it to Western intelligence officials, right? They took it to the MI6, they took it to German intel, they took it to the CIA, and to my surprise, the Western intel official said, yes, that is exactly what's going on. Who's to say that this document was not given to the cybercrime group in order to confuse the collective West, in order to confuse the New York Times? Maybe Russia created this document knowing that it was all a bunch of BS, and they said, here you guys go, Ares Leaks cybercrime group, here, take it. Take it and hand it over to the NYT. I don't know. Anyway, that's the article from the New York Times. the fantasy that they're going to be able to somehow drive a wedge between China and Russia. This fantasy never dies. It will not die. Hope dies last, I guess. That's the video, everybody. The Duran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, Odyssey, BitChute, Telegram, Rockfin, and X. Go to the Duran shop, pick up some merch like what I'm wearing in this video update. 25% off all Duran merch for the next day or two. I will put a link to the Duran shop in the description down below. Take care.